This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with frontwoman MARTA GABRIEL of the Polish heavy metal act Crystal Viper. If I knew absolutely nothing about Crystal Viper, how would you describe the band's music to me?
I would tell you that Crystal Viper is a band you need to check because they play classic heavy metal, pretty melodic with strong female vocals. And I would also tell you, I cannot believe you don't know Crystal Viper yet.
I'd say Crystal Viper's music doesn't get over to America as much as it should. And
yes, I know.
Once I discovered them, I was hooked. So we together need to get the word out. And I think a good place to start is your current album. It comes out on June 24th. It's The Silver Key. It's being released through Listenable Records. This album, much like your last album, The Cult, which came out in 2021, was inspired by the works of H.P. Lovecraft, who is a horror book writer. Is this current album, The Silver Key, a concept album, or much like Lovecraft's works himself, a collection of stories?
It's more like Lovecraft was doing, a collection of stories, and it's exactly the same. It's made in the same way as our previous album, The Cult. And actually, the working title for The Silver Key was The Cult too, because it's also not a concept album. Lyrics are not very connected with each other, but each of the lyrics are kind of inspired by Lovecraft stories. So, for example, if someone knows Lovecraft and will see the lyrics, he will immediately know what he's dealing with. But if there are people who don't know, who are not familiar with Lovecraft, they will be able to interpret the lyrics in their own way. And this is how I usually try to write lyrics, to not be only kind of understandable for people from know this or know that. I always try to get them pretty comfortable for all of the people who will be listening to the album.
You have a couple of songs that have been released ahead of the album. Let's talk about a couple of them. Tell me the story behind the single Fever of the Gods.
Fever of the Gods is actually inspired by a couple of his stories. It's a kind of me having post-apocalyptic dreams, full of secret mysteries about finding gates to another world or dimensions. And on the beginning, I'm trying to warn the world about all of those visions and dreams that I'm having, but afterwards I'm getting kind of addicted to them, and I want to bring them on Earth to our world. So yeah, it's actually a dream that I really had.
Well, for people that don't know, H.P. Lovecraft, kind of a weird guy. I actually live in New England, so he's kind of a folklore legend around here.
Actually, to be honest, I'm wondering why he is not that super famous and super known, because he was a kind of precursor for many other writers, for many directors, movie directors, even for computer games and for music. There are so many bands that got inspired by Lovecraft. So I really hope that in the future we will have a huge numbers of movies based on his albums, on his stories. Have you seen the movie? I'm not sure if it's the same title as the story, Colors Out of Space with Nicolas Cage.
I haven't seen that one, no.
Take a look and check that one. It's like amazing.
Let's talk about another single that you have out from the album. It's called In the Haunted Chapel, if you want to tell me a little bit about that one.
Actually, Haunted Chapel is not a song included on the new album. Yeah, it's
Did I
not.
did I screw up?
No, no, you didn't, because it might be kind of confusing. We released the song for the first time, if I'm not wrong, it was 2 years ago. It was shortly after The Cult was out. It was like I composed the song and we had time, and so then we recorded another one and we released a single. And later our drummer left the band, and right now for the last 2 years we have new drummer. So we recorded the song again with the new drummer, with a new version, and we had time, we had opportunity, we were all in the same area in the same time, and we came up with an idea to make a music video for this one. I know it's kind of unusual to record music video for a single, right? But I know it's not a huge production or anything like that, but we just wanted to make fun, to make a video, because it was a single. So singles are usually like, people don't really know them, and we wanted to push this song more to be more hearable by our audience. And yeah, that's why we recorded the video. And also this video was kind of an opportunity to introduce our new drummer. So it was a kind of welcoming him in the band. But in the Haunted Chapel is separate song, which is not included on the album.
All right. One song that I know for sure is included on the album that is a video and a single is The Silver Key. So
Yes.
why don't you tell me a little bit about what inspired that song?
Actually, musically, I'm a huge fan of Manowar, of Black Sabbath, of Candlemas. So when you're listening to music like that, you write songs, right? Like that. I always compose music that I'd like to listen afterwards. And The Silver Key is a song that I really like to listen, actually. And the lyrics are about actually me, kind of me finding the silver key from the Lovecraft stories. I know in his stories originally, the owner of the key was Randolph Carter, but right now on the album, I know I own the key. So yeah, I don't want to tell you too much to not spoil all of the lyrics, because I know there are people who like to listen to the album for the first time and following the lyrics. I know you can hear the lyrics, right? Because we have a music video for that one, but it's always kind of nice. This is also how I listen to the albums for the first time when I like the band. I always, I buy the album, I put the CD or vinyl, and push play, and then I follow the music and the lyrics with the booklet, keep on following the lyrics. This is what I really love to do, and this is what I do for many, many years, actually. And I believe some of our fans also do that. I know some of them do that because they told me. When it comes to music video, this is a music video where you can see Crystal Viper musicians from more personal side. You can see us working together in the recording studio, recording the album. And also in the last year, we performed on the Full Metal Cruise Festival, which is kind of, it's a festival on the ship, on the ship, on the sea, and yeah. So we performed them, and we had a tons of footage from this festival. We played their free shows, and the time that we spent there was so amazing and so great to us that we also decided to use this footage in this music video. So, and also, being on this kind of festival on the Baltic Sea, it's kind of matches Lovecraft stories, right?
I would think so.
Haven't seen Cthulhu yet. Maybe he had that day when we were on the ship, but yeah, maybe next time.
Now, you mentioned that the Silver Key was almost named the Cult 2. Was there any leftover material from the Cult used on the Silver Key, or did you write all this material fresh?
Um, Material is totally fresh. There weren't any leftovers from the past. But you know, when we started working on the new album, this title, The Cult 2, was so natural to us because, you know, I already knew that I will follow the Lovecraft, you know, that I will stick to that inspirations because it's huge when it comes to me, inspirations by his stories. And musically, I think music album is also kind of connected to the previous one. Of course, we have some new elements, the songs are different and so on, but mostly lyrically, the idea of name the album The Cult 2 was pretty natural to us. But then when we were talking about that, someone said that, don't you think it would be weird for the people who don't know the cult to get the album named The Cult 2? Okay, so what's that? The Cult 2. But I don't have the cult. So where's the part 1? I cannot have the part 2 only. So it might be kind of confusing for people, especially because those two albums are not connected completely, you know. I mean, the idea for lyrics is kind of same. Music is still Crystal Viper, of course, but it's not like continuing the concept of the previous one. No, nothing like that. I mean, it was a cool idea to name it The Cult 2, but when you think about this for a while, it's like it was a good decision to name it the Silver Key, especially when it comes to the Silver Key itself. You can find it not only in the Silver Key song, because it shows up in a kind of different songs as well.
You mentioned you're kind of an old school girl when it comes to listening to your music. You like to take the CD or the vinyl and follow along on the lyric sheet. And to go along with that, you got to have some nice cover artwork. And the bigger, the better. You got a nice vinyl version of the album. And you have this traditionally painted cover artwork by Guatemalan artist Mario Lopez. He also designed the cover art for The Cult. How did you originally discover him?
I cannot tell you exactly, but as we have 21st century and internet, we probably contact him for the very first time through the internet. You know, we probably saw his work somewhere out in the internet, and we were like, "Oh, holy shit, this guy is amazing," and he is, and he's so easygoing person when it comes to work on cover arts and so on. And he's so freaking talented that I really look forward to work with him even more in the future.
And I'm looking at the album cover art behind you. Those are all painted works. That's all 80s style stuff. You don't see a lot of that today in modern artworks. I assume you appreciate more of the classic stuff, much like I do.
Yes, I do. These are actually posters from the magazines from the 80s and 90s. Yeah, my husband was, when he was teenager, he was collecting posters, you know, and right now we have them on the wall.
They put them in the album reissues now. If you buy the reissue of the album, you can get those posters.
Yes, yes. Like in the past, it was like, I'm sure you remember that. You go to the shop, you see the magazine. Okay, what kind of poster is inside? So yeah, sometimes they were putting cassettes to the magazines and so on. Yeah, I remember that times. I was buying cassettes when I didn't have money to buy my favorite albums. I was listening to my favorite radio station with cassette inside my tape with my finger on the rec button. And I was waiting for my song to record. Yeah, I was going to when I was going to my high school, I was going on the bus with my Walkman and listening Iron Maiden from tapes, Metallica, Black Sabbath. Yeah, good times.
Absolutely.
It wasn't back then. It wasn't that even it wasn't even that easy to get your favorite albums. I'm not sure how it was in America, but here in Europe, especially in Poland, it was freaking difficult. For example, when I was a small girl, I mean really small, like 7, 8, 6 years old, my father, to get his favorite albums, he had to buy them in Hungary, because in Poland they were unavailable completely. So it was very difficult to buy anything in Poland when it came to music. But our home was full of vinyls. They were everywhere. Caskets full of, of vinyls. And maybe that's why, to me, it's still kind of natural to keep on buying this stuff, you know.
Remind you of the good times growing up.
Yes.
Now, this is your third release for Listenable Records. How did you end up originally signing with them?
With the album Tales of Fire and Ice was our last album for AFM Records due to contract deal. And the truth is that we didn't think about continuing cooperation with AFM because we felt like there were more power metal label. And it felt for us kind of weird because we always considered Crystal Viper as this classic heavy metal band, right? And we felt like AFM Records maybe isn't the perfect home for Crystal Viper when it comes to music that we play. And we recorded the album, everything was ready, and we got in touch with Listenable Records, and it looks like we found a perfect home for our music. And I know on the beginning, they were specializing in reeditions of some classic albums, but right now they are growing and growing with the new releases and so on. Working with them it's the highest possible level of cooperation between band and record company. Like, they are supporting us in everything we need. We can discuss with them about everything. I really wish that other bands would have such a great support from a record company that we have right now. And this is actually why I also wanted to release my solo album with Listenable Records. I wasn't even thinking about releasing it somewhere else, to be honest.
Your last two albums, the Cult and this album, of course, was produced and mastered by BART GABRIEL, which I assume is your husband. Does he bring in that outside ear, that critical ear that sometimes you need when you're kind of crafting your own album here?
Yes, he does. And this is actually very helpful, especially to me, because from the very beginning, I do most of stuff when it comes to Crystal Viper music. And as a composer, as I told you, I compose music that I like and I like to listen. And he has this fresh ear, and he kind of doesn't like everything that I compose. And it's pretty helpful because, you can compose 20 songs and you think that all of them are fantastic. And you can put 20 of them on the album. And this is when you need someone who can advise you and who can help you to choose the best ones. Who can tell you, okay, this one is more catchy than the previous one. Don't you think that this song sounds much better? This one has great energy. And this is why I really like to work with Bart, because it's not like he's my husband and he loves everything I do. He doesn't. And also, after so many years together, we are able to separate our private life from work. And music is work. We are not wife and husband when we are working on music. We are not wife and husband when we are on festivals or when we are in the recording studio. We are working together and we behave professional. And when it comes to producing Crystal Viper album, he produced all of them, not only the two ones So we are working together from the very beginning because we actually met right before I created Crystal Viper.
Did you meet in a musical setting or did you meet outside of a musical setting?
Bart, me and Bart,
Yes.
He showed up at my live show.
Okay.
I was playing a live show with my previous band, and he just showed up, and this is how we met. So
Um,
sometimes he's joking that he's my groupie.
there might be some truth to that. Crystal Viper is going to be playing the Metal Frenzy Festival in Germany next week on June 14th. What can fans expect in your set list?
For sure, they can expect songs from the new album. And they can also expect to see on stage someone new, but you will see.
Now, this particular festival has sort of a range of musical styles and genres. Are there any particular bands in the bill that you're looking forward to seeing as a fan, or will there not be any time for that?
I really hope I will have time because when I'm on the festivals, especially on the festivals, I always try to see as much as possible. Because, for example, even when you go somewhere, you go on the festival, there are 30 bands, and for example, 20 of them, you have no idea who are they or never heard of them. It's always very cool to check them out because maybe you will like the music and you will become a fan. Maybe you will see something very cool on stage. Or if you will see a band with much more experienced musician, maybe you can learn something. So yeah, when I will be at Metal Frenzy Festival, I will check as many bands as possible.
Crystal Viper has festival appearances throughout the summer with a European headline tour starting up in the fall. Are you looking forward to the headlining opportunity because you'll get a little more time and a little more visibility, so to speak, with a headlining tour versus the festival tours?
You know, I really, really appreciate and value both ways of playing because when you play on the festivals, there are always plenty of new people who've never heard of you, who don't know your music. And thanks to appearances on those festivals, you can get more fans. You can show people to larger audience. So maybe you back home with new fans somewhere out there. And when you play the tour, your headlining tour, which are usually in smaller venues, right? There are only your fans. They are coming to see you. So this is also what I really appreciate. And it's always super, super nice to stand on stage, look on the audience and knows that, man, they showed up tonight to see you, to hear your music, to meet with you. And this is an amazing feeling. But I cannot even say what I like more, to be honest, if playing on the festivals or, in the clubs. I really loves both because in general, I love to perform. I like to play live. I like play live shows. I even like playing live shows more than working in the studio. So, yeah, I feel like superhero when I'm on stage. It really doesn't matter when whether I'm on the festival or in the club. Some people need to jump on a bungee or to fly with on the plane or to drive his motorcycle with 200 miles per hour to get some adrenaline. Put me on stage, I will have the same with the very first song.
So, what are the chances of seeing Crystal Viper in the US at some point? I know everybody's saying that the costs are gigantic to get over here to the US these days.
The costs are insane, especially right now. In the past, it wasn't that bad as isn't right now because the costs were always huge. The costs are insane, just like I said. But right now, it's even more difficult because from what I know, for us musicians, to get to play in the USA, we need to get working visas, which is not super easy to get. For example, you have 5 members in the band, four of them get those kind of visa, and the fifth one will not. So you will not go to the USA. And they are also super expensive. I'm not sure how it looks like in different countries. In Poland, pretty difficult. Which is, of course, a pity because we've never been there. Of course, I know that there are people who would like to see Crystal Viper live, and we would love to perform for them. I really hope one day it will happen. It would be so, so, so great.
In 2021, you released your first solo album, Metal Queens, which was a covers album, and you covered the female artists that influenced you over the years, including Jutta Weinhold, Leather Leone, Wendy O. Williams, and Lee Aaron, just to name a few. Are you planning a follow-up solo release at some point?
Actually, at the moment, I don't have plans to record the part 2. On the beginning, it was a plan to make a kind of a series, to continue to make Metal Queens part 2 and so on. But I'm working on this album with my own songs, which is almost ready. So probably next year you will hear a little bit more about that. And I'm pretty excited because it's not gonna be heavy metal.
Okay.
Still pretty kind of, I don't want to spoil it. Let it be a surprise, okay?
Okay. So a solo album of original material is what we can expect.
Yes.
So I interviewed Lee Aaron a couple months back, and I asked her if she heard your version of Metal Queen from your covers album, and she said that she did, and she thought you did an excellent job. Did you personally hear from any of those artists that you covered from that album?
Yeah, I heard that Lee Aaron liked the version of Metal Queen, which is a huge compliment to hear from the original artist. It's like, and I'm a huge fan of them. This is why I recorded those songs. I also heard from Kate from Acid. I heard from Leather Leon, from Jutta Weinhold, and from Doro. So it was super nice.
And I had interviewed you during that album cycle, and I had never heard of Jutta Weinhold or ZED YAGO, and you had just talked so glowingly about her, and she released an album last year with Velvet Viper, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to check this lady out, and I talked to her, I interviewed her, such a sweetheart, such a great lady, such great music, and I'm glad that you turned me on to her.
My pleasure. This is so nice to hear that. And actually, this is how this business should work like, people introducing other people to other people and to other people and to spread the good music all around. And yes, Jutta is super nice person. I also met her in person actually a couple of times. But when you have an occasion, please go to her live show and hear this lady live. She has a voice like a tank. She's like a Dio in a female's body. She's incredible. And actually, when I was younger and I was listening to ZED YAGO or Velvet Viper, it was actually one of my dreams to see Jutta Weinhold live or Leather Leon or Doro. And I already saw all of them live. So it's like another thing on the checklist before I'm done. So, but yes, Jutta is an amazing artist and performer. It's not only the voice. It's like she goes on stage, she's on stage and you're in the different world. She's like, the things she's doing on stage is pure magic, metal magic. I don't know how to call it differently. She's like, yeah, metal goddess.
Absolutely. Well, those are all the questions I have for you today, Marta. The new Crystal Viper album is The Silver Key. It's out June 24th through Listenable Records. A great album. I wish you the best of luck with it. And thanks for taking the time to speak with KNAC.com today about it.
Thank you very much, George, for a nice talk. Always nice to talk with you. And mostly thank you for supporting Crystal Viper. It's super important to us. And thank you for that.